All righty. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Maritza Gamboa, and I work at VMware as a Talent Acquisition, Diversity, and Inclusion Program Manager. And today I'm excited to moderate this panel with three amazing VMware Senior Engineering Managers to share about their experience as working women engineers. So please welcome Maggie Kai, Claire Taylor, and Karishma Babu. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to have you all go around and introduce yourself and share a little bit about your role. Maggie, you're to my right, so I'll ask that you start us off.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie Kai. I'm a senior R&D manager at VMware. I'm located at the Palo Alto headquarters office. I'm working in the modern application platform BU. It's a very new BU in VMware. I'm the engineering leader for the Tanzu Kubernetes Grid product. And prior to VM, that's BU, I actually worked on many other products like EXSI, vSphere, and the VMware Cloud Foundation product inside the VMware. I have a master's degree in CS, and I was coding as a software developer in my early career before joining VMware.
Claire, you're right below me. Do you want to go next?
Sure. So my name's Claire Taylor. I'm also a senior R&D manager. I work in the cloud management business unit on our automation products. So that's products that help you automate your virtual infrastructure. I've been here for 10 years now. So I've been here quite a while.
Great. And last but not least, Karishma?
Sure. So, hi, everyone. My name is Karishma Babu. I'm also a senior engineering manager at VMware. I've been at VMware for a little over 6 years now. I joined as part of an acquisition. I'm part of the end user computing group at VMware. And what we do is we focus on building a digital workspace platform that allows employees to access and use digital tools with consumer simplicity and enterprise-grade security in mind. I've been a mobile engineer for over 10 plus years, after which I decided to switch over to lead a team. And I am currently leading a product that has over 10 million active users. And I'm very excited to be on this panel.
Awesome. Thank you. So for our audience, we prepared some questions ahead of time. And I thought, when do we ever get three female engineering managers in a virtual room together? So we are going to start on the topic of hiring and interviewing. So Karishma, I'm actually going to go back to you and ask if you would start by telling us, in your opinion, what makes someone successful at VMware.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about the question, I thought it was a very interesting question because there are so many attributes and skill sets you think about when you start an interview process. But if I had to look at some great examples of VMware who've been really successful, and based on my experience here, I think there were two things that really can be highlighted as something that would make you really successful at VMware. And I think the two of them are passion and empathy. And I'll tell you why. I think the passion is, we want people who want to do 110% in everything you do. It's what you're going to see at all levels of VMware, starting from, an entry-level engineer all the way to our CEO, Pat. The other one is empathy. And the reason why, I believe empathy is an important trait is that empathy can be thought of as not just empathy towards, our community and other people, but it's also towards your team, your customers, your end users, and your stakeholders. And when you start thinking along those lines, where you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes, you're automatically forced to start thinking of ways in which you can make a better product, a better process, and in turn, make an overall experience that's really great for your customers. Everything else can be learned or can be taught. So if I had to pick two, those would be the ones I'd go with.
I really like that. If minutes are interested currently attending and maybe they don't have specific domain experience, do you recommend that they learn on the job? Like, yes, but I'll let you a little bit more.
Yes, definitely. I think, we've heard a lot about biases when it comes to how resumes are written and how men versus women perceive it. I can say based on my experience in every single interview panel I've ever sat on, the one of the first few questions that comes up is, hey, is this individual driven and is this person open to learn? Right. So we look at, what your understanding of your fundamentals are, but really we're looking at, okay, if you're given a problem, how do you go about solving it? Everything else, like I said, is VMware has the resources to train you, and you can pretty much learn any new skill set that you want. So yes, please definitely apply.
Great, thank you. And Maggie, as a hiring manager, what is your interview process like for someone joining your team?
So for other than the Propel program for the new grads, VMware doesn't have a company-wide general hiring process like Google and Facebook. So instead, each team will handle its hiring based on the expertise needed for the project in the team. Because the technical expertise required can be very, very different among the product teams inside the VMware. But given that said, the hiring and interview process is very similar. So I said there will be three big steps for a very typical VMware hiring interview process. So and after we receive your resume. So the first one is the hiring manager will scan the resumes and pick the ones look promising. Then the recruiter will contact the candidate and set up a Zoom chattings with a senior engineer. That can be some of the hacker code pair there, so you can do a design and the kind of whiteboarding type of a discussion. This step is really to do the initial evaluation of your technical skills. So the second step, usually we call the on-site interview. You are being invited to on campus, and it's for you to meet the team and interview with the project team members. And that's the people you will work with. And now it used to be, as I said, we move you on site and it's the whiteboarding sessions. During this COVID-19 time, everything will move on to the Zoom like this. So we'll do the Zoom sessions again. The third step is really making the decision and present an offer to the candidate. And we also discuss with you for the start date. VMware is very focused on the diversity and inclusion hiring. So every BU has its goal. Like our BU, we set up the goal is we want to have 14% hires the underrepresented minorities, and 33% hires should be women. So we are very, very conscious of make every step in the hiring process to ensure the percentage of the URM and the woman in the pipeline, in the interview process, and in the final decision.
Do you have any tips for anyone in the audience who may be preparing to go through an interview herself?
Yeah, maybe I can share with some of the tips. So it depends on the role, position, and the job responsibility. The requirement of the skill set will be very different. But in general, there are, again, three categories of questions, and so you can prepare. The first one, most important, is technical questions. So that goal is to evaluate the deeper and broader of the relative technical stack you have. So we'll do by coding, by design, system design. The tips for you prepare is don't be nervous. Be honest and of what you know and what you don't know, and show your learning ability, and ask clarification if the question is not clear. And also, finally, don't forget all the corner cases when you are doing the coding, doing the design. The second category of questions are a lot behavior questions. That goal is to understand your habit, the way you communicate and collaborate with the team members. and also your leadership level and your way to handle daily, day-to-day work, and sometimes also some extreme critical situations. But that the tips is, it just show your passion. I think it's very important is you show your passion, show you're true of yourself, and also open to listen to others. The third category of question is usually is very open, the open questions. Those questions can be like, what's your short-term goal? What's your long-term goal? What's your dream work? What's your special skills? And what's your uniqueness strengths? But the tips of this is just think about these questions ahead of the time. Be prepared. It's very hard for you to answer those questions on the spot if you don't prepare. Overall, I think the tips is really be yourself, stay calm, focus on your strengths, and your values you can add it to the project, the team. And then be open to learn and listen.
I feel like we could write a book with all those tips. Those are great. And now, Claire, I'm curious, changing topics a little, what's been your favorite thing about working at VMware?
So I think my favorite thing, I think I have two favorite things. So firstly, the work is interesting, and I think that's always important, but I don't think that's necessarily unique to VMware, particularly in the Bay Area. There are a lot of companies doing cool stuff. I think what I really enjoy about VMware on top of that is the people. So we have a really lovely team that we work with, and I'm obviously biased about my own team, but they are wonderful engineers. They're really supportive, and I really do love working with them. So I think having that group of people, there's a really lovely, kind culture at VMware. And so for me, I think that really is my favorite thing. When things get really challenging and stressful, having that group of people that are just lovely to work with makes all the difference.
I totally agree. Karishma, I'm going to turn the same question to you. What's been your favorite thing about working at VMware?
I'm going to cheat as well and pick two. So I think personally for me, my favorite thing about working for VMware has been that, as an individual, if you ever want to make anything happen and you take the initiative and you come with a solution, the support and the people will magically appear. And it has happened multiple times in my time at VMware, and it just amazes me how people go out of their way to help. The other one I wanted to just add on to what Claire mentioned is, I think one of my favorite things about VMware as a company is our shared set of values. Right? We have a very strong sense of culture. For those of you who might not know, we acronymize it as EPIC2, which stands for Execution, Passion, Integrity, Customers, and Community. And it's always been the basis on what we do a lot of our things. Even in the more recent times where things have been challenging and we have a lot of turmoil, you've seen the statements that have come out from our CEO that we don't stand for things like racial injustice, right? And we've had many eye-opening and many heart-wrenching conversations that have been organized by our part of diversity groups. And it's been tough, but I've been very thankful that this is an organization that supports those kind of conversations to happen, and we see our leadership in all of them. So that's my second favorite thing.
That's great. I echo that as well. And now, Claire, I'm going to go back to you. And so we have all been working during COVID-19 and this unprecedented time. So I'm curious what it's been like for you, and if you have any tips about working remotely like you've been doing for the past couple months.
Sure. I think this experience for me has been a bit of an eye-opener. I always hated working from home before this. I was totally fine if my team wanted to do it, but I personally didn't understand the appeal. It took a little while to get used to it, but I think now we're getting better at it. So my tips would be a good working environment. So get yourself a decent desk, no more neck pain and back pain, and a decent chair. It makes all the difference. Also webcams for some meetings, but not all. I find that it's very exhausting to be staring at a webcam all day, every day. So trying to balance it between the two. And then finding a good communication platform for the team as well. For us, we use Slack primarily, but having some way to communicate with people throughout the day has been really helpful.
That's great. Maggie, what has it been like for you working from home, and do you have any tips as well?
And I totally agree with Claire said. I actually used to be really like working in the office, meet with people in personal talk as well. But this time is really, we have to stay home, like everyone. So I think I want to add on one more important, it's all about communication, because it's more important is communication in the distributed remote work environment. I think communication in written is super important. Either by Slack or emails. It's required more specific and clear of your opinion, but don't make any assumption that people have the same background or will drive the same conclusion as you did. And besides that, communication will be expected asynchronously with people working in different time zone and remote. So you have to leave the room, some rooms, and also need to follow up.
Thank you. And Karishma, can you share a little bit about the opportunities for career development at VMware?
Definitely. So I think one of the things, that, I talk a lot about with my team and with everyone I meet is how important it is for us to continue to learn. And for me personally, I would find the position really boring if I get to a point where I've stopped learning. Right? And VMware has a lot of opportunities that are available for its engineers as they look at things like career development. And I'll try and highlight a couple of them here. The first one is what we call our Take series. So we have a Take 1, Take 2, and Take 3 program that are available to engineers based on how long they're at the company. Take 1, for example, allocates a budget per engineer that you can use to either take a course, and we've had a few people take certifications based on that, take a course on Udemy or Udacity or one of the other, course websites to try and learn a new skill. I've used it to go to a couple of conferences, and it covers all of that. So that's been great. The other one is Take 2, and I think the Take 2 and Take 3 have been very, very interesting because I've not seen a lot of other places that do it. It's very easy, as you're in a company to get into a silo where you're comfortable with your team and you know exactly what needs to be done. And you really don't have that perspective of what comes from working in another team. So for me, if I was interested in finding out what product management was all about, Take 2 is a great opportunity that VMware provides to allow you to do that. So it lets you take 2 weeks and you work with another team and another manager, define a set of goals, and you can effectively work in that other team for up to 2 weeks. Take 3 takes that a step further and allows you to actually work for another team, if you want, for up to 3 months, right? So it gives you a big opportunity to have visibility outside your team, learn something new. In fact, there was someone on my current team right now who had done a Take 3 with my earlier team, and it was great to kind of get that, fresh pair of eyes just to see how we can get better. There are also opportunities as part of Take 3 where you can effectively work with other R&D organizations, right? So it's a great program to use to not just learn and but to also bring back those learnings back to your team. Other than that, we have training sessions. In fact, I just got done with one where I was in a training that focused on coaching for business performance, which is really great. We have very well-maintained career ladders. We expect all of our managers to have those kind of career development conversations with their reports and to help identify a set of goals that will help them kind of make sure they understand how to make the next steps in their career. So all of this is focused on, career development, right? But a big part of career development, and you've heard us talk about it, comes from just that leadership and initiative. Right? And you see a lot of examples in that with some of the other kind of community aspects that we've been focusing on. As I mentioned, it's a big part of our culture, right? Community. And so a lot of these initiatives have not been something that has been created by the leadership of this company. It's been something that's been created by an engineer or someone in another organization, and examples being, for example, our focus on sustainability. So we have these groups that we call the Pod of Diversity groups. We call them pods. And I've talked about a few pods, but one of them, for example, is the Green Pod, right? And it was a group of people who at least one of them I know was in my team who used to make sure everyone doesn't use disposable plates and then tries to do something good for the environment. But they were able to take it to a point where they're working very closely with our facilities teams to make sure we are truly green in what we can do. Right? So there are a lot of things that allow you to exercise different muscles of your personality, be it from technical capability to leadership to teamwork. So I think these are some of the ones that I wanted to share. There are many more based on the area that you're in. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely. That's very helpful. Thank you. And I agree. I've never heard or seen of Take Two or Take Three at other companies. It's a very cool benefit. So I'm going to switch topics a bit. And I was recently reading the McKinsey Women in the Workplace, and I read some good news that we're seeing an increase in representation of women in senior leadership. But women are still underrepresented at every level. So since you three are women in leadership, I'm actually going to go back to you, Karishma, and ask, can you share what you believe VMware does to help promote women in leadership?
Definitely. I think step one is really to acknowledge the problem, right? We would love to see more women in leadership positions. It is something we talk very openly about at VMware. In fact, last year, a lot of our executive goals were tied to the point of increasing diversity in the company, and we missed. And we missed that goal. The leadership talked about why we missed. What were the one? What are the areas that we need to focus on so that we can retarget this in the new year? But it is something that VMware, from where I'm seeing it, is laser focused. There are a couple of areas that I'm aware of that we're trying to, prioritize, including recruiting. And we want to see more women enter the workforce. We even have returnship programs, so people who've had to leave the workforce and have not had the opportunity or a good way to come back. We're spinning off a whole set of returnship programs, and we've seen a great bunch of groups come through that. And the third area of focus is for women who are already in the workforce, right? So for the women who are already in the workforce, a couple of things that VMware started doing. Of course, we have our Women at VMware, which is our part of diversity group for women, and they hold a lot of great events, right? They talk about a lot of things, all the way starting from how do you negotiate well, how do you, have a seat at the table, what are some of the tips and tricks that you can keep in mind. As part of that, they also organize these voice of influence circles. It's called dialogue circles in some companies. I've been part of that, a long time ago, and I got to learn a lot of things that I applied as I went in meetings, just to make sure that I was able to get my voice heard. Right? And we also have, pretty strong. I think we'll talk about this a little bit more. Is we're trying to put together a really strong mentorship program for women who are already in the workplace, right? To make sure that they have a sounding board, talk about, what are some of the things that they're thinking about, what are some of the things they haven't considered, because different, perspectives always help. So that's what I wanted to call out.
Great, thank you. And Claire, I'm curious if you can share about your experience with internal mobility at VMware.
Yeah, so VMware really encourages internal mobility. We want to try to keep the people that we have, but also recognize that at some point you need the next challenge. And so VMware is really good at encouraging that. We all have access to the internal job boards. And I believe I was looking at the intranet the other day, they actually get posted internally first for, I think it's 5 days before they get posted externally. So we really try to encourage our internal people to apply for those roles. For me, my current role was an internal transfer. I actually transferred from an international site to the US. So they really do encourage internal mobility, which is great. And I've managed to get some engineers on my team who were looking for the next challenge, and that happened to be with us. And the opposite has been true as well, where our team wasn't able to give this particular person the next step of their career that they wanted, but another team was. So VMware got to keep that talent, which is really great.
Great, fantastic. Maggie, changing topics here, but in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge today in the tech industry to serve underrepresented group audiences?
So although we have done a lot of work, as I said, but there are many challenges today still in the tech industry for minorities and even for women. So let's focus on women today, I think the most challenge here is the stereotype about women and a lot of unconscious bias everywhere. So tech industry has been dominated by men. It scares away many women to apply. And even women in the tech industry already, they are often being considered as technically not strong as their colleague men. And they consider women a strong family commitment. So thus work is their second priority. And also they think women are considered either not confident enough or too arrogant. Both ends, right? So when a good opportunity comes, a woman has less chance to get it. And women must prove themselves many times for their ability, while men a lot of time just need to just behave like they can do it. Maybe they only have 30% of ability to do it. But the unconscious bias does not only come from men, it actually comes from women as well, because those are the stereotypes in everyone's mind already. That's the most challenge I can.
And this is
point it out.
Quite a question, but what critical changes do you think need to be made to help eliminate that bias? And
so, as I said, the stereotype has been there for a while. It's not new, right? And then the change is always hard. And I think the critical change need to be made is first need to be realized and understand the stereotypes and unconscious bias. Then this is super important. You realize first, then you can take action, and you need to be more consciously correct them. And this is very tough. It's not easy job again. And it's also not women can do and make the change. It needs a lot, and men need to change as well. Absolutely. It's the whole society's work.
That's great. And no right or wrong answer here, but do you feel that VMware is addressing these challenges?
I think so far VMware has done a lot on this area. They realize this and done a lot, honestly. There are a series of unconscious bias education courses, which are mandatory to everyone to take. And our company asks all the executives and the VPs to accountable for hiring certain percentage of women and URM. And I see the improvement around the way for so many years, but again, still challenges
Thank
there.
You. And Claire, do you have any advice for any women who are in the field of technology and maybe they're experiencing some imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I think imposter syndrome is something that a lot of us suffer from at some point, and men too, but obviously I think it's more common with women. I think I don't have a magic bullet, unfortunately. I think recognizing when it's happening is a good thing to do, and just being kind to yourself. So reminding yourself of the good things you have done, reminding yourself that, okay, I'm being overly negative right now. And particularly, we're on a careers day. When it comes to applying for jobs, do it anyway. I can tell you as a hiring manager that we see a lot of resumes from people that really should not have applied. For most people that are second guessing themselves, they're not in that bucket of people that are completely out of the realm of possibility. So if you're being kind of hard on yourself, put yourself out there anyway, particularly when it comes to applying for jobs. If you get a no, it doesn't really matter. It was going to be a no anyway if you didn't apply. So it's tough, and it's easier to say that than to do it. I understand that. But yeah, just try to be kind to yourself and remind yourself when you're doing it to push yourself anyway.
That's great. I have a friend who anytime a manager or coworker says that she did a good job, she saves the email in a special folder. And when she is feeling that imposter syndrome and just needs a little pick-me-up, she looks at the folder and rereads the emails and gets herself motivated. So that's a fun trick people could try as well.
It's a good idea. I might steal that.
Yeah, that's great. So I have just two more questions and then we'll open it for Q&A, but this is one of my favorite questions, so I do want to give it enough time. Karishma, I get tons of questions about how do I find a mentor. So I'm curious if you can tell us about any mentoring relationships you've had and advice on the topic.
Definitely. Again, I have been fortunate enough to have the experience of either being or attempting to be a mentee or a mentor, and more recently, I think a mentor. The first time, I really didn't know, to be honest. I didn't know what it was to be someone who was being mentored. So the first time, as part of one of these VMware programs, I got paired up with a mentor. I didn't know what I had to do. The advice you get is, the expectation is if you're being mentored, you drive a lot of those conversations. You come prepared, you figure out when to schedule the meeting, and you talk about, where your head's at and things like that. And I would have to rack my brain to figure out what questions to ask. And should I ask what their favorite books are? Should I ask how they figured out what they wanted to do in life? So I think there were a few that kind of started and fizzled out because I just wasn't able to get um, a momentum going. And more recently, I've started just connecting with someone uh, who is able to give me a perspective that has been really helpful. Right? So my takeaway from being someone who's been mentored is this: I think mentorship is a lot like dating, right? You need to find someone that you click with, and it's not necessary that you'll click with everyone, and that's okay, right? Because even for the ones you don't click with, you sometimes take away something, even in that moment of conversation. And everyone's always very eager to share about some of the pain points or how they've learned something the hard way. So, for example, one takeaway from one of those mentoring sessions that didn't continue was that if someone's not agreeing to your point of view, and fairly right that what you're saying is the right thing, is you ask the leading questions that eventually get them to the same answer that you want, right? Which I thought was brilliant, and I've been trying to use that where I can. So as someone who's been mentored, I think my advice would be keep trying it out. You will eventually find someone you connect with who's kind of on the same path that you think you're going to be in a few years. And then my sessions have really been just about, hey, what's going on, and I talk about this is something I'm kind of struggling with, or I love your perspective on it, and it becomes more of a conversation than me figuring the night or the evening before, okay, what question can I ask, right? As someone who's now slowly transitioning to also be a mentor, what is surprising to me is, as you're looking for, if you're looking for someone to mentor you, in most cases, all you have to do is just ask, which was like a mind-blowing observation for me, because it's amazing, since I've kind of been in both worlds, there have been a few people who I've reached out to and say, hey, I really like how you're doing something. Would you be open for us connecting, once in a month to just talk about how you do this and how you approach it? And I haven't had a single person say no, right? And I know if someone were to approach me, I would be more than happy. But everyone loves talking about themselves and having stories, so I'd be more than happy to do that. So I think if you identify someone that you really admire, you just simply reach out and say, hey, I'd love for you to be my mentor, and I think in most cases they will.
That's great. I'm going to go rogue for a second because I see a really good question in the chat from Mira. How do you break up with a mentor on the flip side?
So I don't have the perfect answer. I can tell you that I've been places where I've not done the best job in doing it. Sometimes it's just fizzled out, right? And it's since the onus is on you on setting up the next meeting. The next meeting just never gets set up, and hence it just fizzles out. But I think in retrospective, these are people who, the reason why you even thought of asking a particular person to be a mentor is because they are truly doing something that is really that is something that you admire. So it's always good to leave every relationship in a place where you can, come back to it at a later point where what they're doing might be more meaningful to you, right? So my advice would be, if you ever find yourself in that kind of a scenario, I think it's best to be honest and say, hey, this was great feedback, and I'd love to think about it some more. And if I ever come back to this position where I'm struggling, I hope I can reach out to you and maybe set some time up and connect later. And I think that kind of keeps that relationship going as well. And they've taken the time out, to talk to you, and so I think that's something that you need to be appreciative of.
Absolutely. That's a great answer for putting you on the spot.
I'm working on it.
Great. And Claire, I'm curious if you have anything to add on the topic of mentorship.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that you kind of touched on there a little bit is that we do have mentoring programs within VMware. So for some people, that's really easy to identify the people that you want to go and ask to be your mentor. And if you can, that's the great way to do it. But for those that don't have those people or are looking to make a different career jump or maybe new to the company, we actually have a bunch of programs. So some of our business units or particular functions or locations run their own mentoring programs. And we also happen to have a US-based mentorship program sponsored by the Women at VMware Pod in conjunction with the Latino at VMware Pod, which we are working on that right now, and it will be opening up in a couple of months, where we actually look at trying to match people to find a good mentor. We haven't been great in the past at teaching people how to be mentors, and that's something that we're going to be working on this year, is how do we provide training and help people learn, like, what do you ask in that first meeting and how do you build that relationship? So we are putting a lot of effort into supporting that. And VMware is also very big on mentoring for the senior people as well. So we've heard our execs talking a lot recently about their reverse mentoring. So they have these reverse mentoring programs as well to help our senior people learn what it's like for members of our community who are maybe different to them in some way.
Thank you. So I am seeing a ton of questions come in. So for the audience, we are going to save the last 10 minutes for your questions, but I do want to end with a plug for everyone. So I'm going to ask all three of you if you'd like to take the floor and highlight some of the openings on your team right now. Maggie, if you'd like to start.
Sure, it's my opportunity. I actually, as I said, our BU, our product is very new. It's very growing. So ongoing, maybe I will start a new project. I will have a lot of openings. I manage multiple teams, both on the front end and back end. And we are really running on Kubernetes. So Golang, and Kubernetes, those are the more essential technologies and needed, and both. And currently, I do have openings. Actually, the openings already shared on the job fair here on the conference is a senior front UI engineer openings. That is maybe let me give 1 minute to describe what we are doing, because that's important, I think, for you guys. So as you know, enterprise business may have hundreds and thousands software, thousands applications they're learning. They can be very old existing monolithic applications, and also the new developed cloud native microservices. But those applications are very different, but they are all critical for businesses. So we cannot get rid of the old ones quickly. So that's the important for VMware, seeing that VMware has a new technologies under a brand name called Tanzu, spells as Tanzu. When you go to the VMware product page, you will see Tanzu. That's a brand name, like vSphere, like vRealize, and this is a new ones. And this is really to enable the enterprise business to build, to run, and manage all these applications across any cloud. So VMware envision a world where Kubernetes is as available as a utility, like electricity. So the customer can need to be just deploy a consistent Kubernetes grid across all their operational environments. So the product I'm working on called Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, we call TKG, and that provide enterprise organizations with a consistent upstream compatible and Kubernetes substate across software-defined data center, public cloud, and edge environment. And that is ready for any user workload and ecosystem to be integrated. So particularly, so that is the teams we're hiring. And as a senior UI engineer, you will join a team with highly motivated engineers and deliver a new UI for this Tanzu Kubernetes grid. It's a control plan and a management plan. So what is we're looking for things you will work when you join with us. So you will be doing coding in the web client technologies. We hope you're familiar with JavaScript, TypeScript, HTML5, Clarity, Angular, or React. So you develop the UI that also you will do all the including all the unit tests, functional tests, end-to-end tests to provide a production quality level in the CI/CD pipeline. And as a senior engineer, we expect you to participate in end-to-end system design, understand the user experience, write design spec, and get reviewed with product manager and also architect group. Yeah, you also. Their daily job will be collaborate with product managers, UX designer, backend engineer, release and testing engineers in a actually distributed bigger team. So we prefer the people with this this front end technical experience, but also if you have a working experience or knowledge on vSphere, AWS, Azure, GCP, and also with Kubernetes will be preferred. So I have the job listed there, and you are interested, and you feel free to contact me.
Karishma, would you like to go next?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I'm part of the end user computing group, and we've had a big spotlight on us ever since the whole COVID situation hit, because it forced employees to start working from home. And the end user computing group builds solutions that enables you to do that in a very fast and secure fashion. So we're expecting this group to continue to grow. There are a lot of areas that we're investing in. If you look at the careers page on VMware, you'll see a list of all of our openings. We're looking for front-end, back-end, full-stack server and mobile engineers. We're looking at user experience designers, DevOps engineers. We have a long list of things to do, so we are looking for extremely driven and talented individuals to get us there. I think I saw a question pop up on chat, so I wanted to just quickly address it. Is if I had to pick, probably one of the only good things that happened out of the COVID-19 situation for companies was that it forced companies to evaluate whether a remote working strategy would work. In the past, VMware had a lot of people who were working remotely, but it was a very small minority. A bulk of people were coming in to work. More recently, and I think if you've seen Pat talk about it as well, a lot of our leadership believes that as we kind of start returning back to work, you'll see that a majority of people will still continue to choose to work remotely, right? And Pat's even gone up to say 60% he expects 60% of the company to continue to work remotely. And that opens up a great opportunity, because if you'll see, a lot of our openings will now say remote candidates should apply as well, right? So we're no longer kind of constrained with you having to be in Palo Alto, in Atlanta, in London, where we have our offices. But as long as you have the passion, you look at you look at what we do, and you're excited by what you want to do, please consider applying. Like I said, we have a lot of things that we would like to get done, and we're looking for people to help us. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about what the end user computing engineering group is doing, and I'll share the link in the chat as well, is we've recently spun up a small blog on Medium that talks about some of the engineering problems we solve day to day. So if you search on Medium for end user computing, you'll hit a blog called VMware 360. And it showcases a few people who've talked about some of the problems that they've been solving day to day. So I'd encourage everyone to check that out as well.
That's awesome. Great. And Claire, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you just finished hiring. Anything you'd like to pitch?
Yeah, so I personally just finished filling 4 positions, but the rest of our business unit is still hiring. We're almost always hiring. So we're working on like the management products. So these are facing the mainly end users, but also some administrators as well, rather than being low-level stuff. So we are often hiring application developers, so both back-end and front-end. For today, I think one of the positions that I know we have open is for a senior SRE engineer. So we've recently made the transition from being only on-premise products that you have to download and install to also having SaaS offerings as well. So that's been quite a transformation for the team over the last few years. And so we have a team of SREs that are actually not working on a particular product, but spanning the whole suite of products for our cloud management business unit. So this is an opportunity for someone who's a little bit more senior and has some experience as an SRE before that can come in, bring that expertise in and mentor the more junior engineers on the team as well. So definitely check that out. And if you're interested in working on management products, go have a look at the cloud management, anything with cloud management or vRealize on the VMware career site.
Great. I know we only have 4 minutes left and we do get kicked out right on the hour. So I'm just going to choose one question from the chat, but I do want to thank my amazing VMware team who's been answering a lot of the questions live. So anyone can answer this, or all 3 of you, but our last question will be, what is the path you followed to become an R&D manager?
Maybe I can try and take a quick stab at it. I mentioned that I was an engineer, a mobile engineer for over 10 years. I've always loved to code. I've always loved to build things. So it was a very hard decision for me to decide between should I go up the technical track or the management track. And we have some very strong career paths in VMware. Even if you go up the technical track, where you can be the equivalent of a VP, which is a principal engineer at VMware. When I had those discussions with my manager, I decided to work with him to try and figure out what are some opportunities that will let me almost be a pseudo manager, where I can take on that role and get a feel for what that position is. And I found that I really liked the the ownership and the decision making and the participation in strategy that I was getting to do as an R&D manager. And so that's when I decided to kind of switch tracks. But I've known of people who switched and moved back to being an engineer and vice versa, and so it's very flexible at VMware.
Right, Maggie or Claire? Sure, go ahead.
I can share my experience. I was a developer, as I said, and I then naturally go to the tech leads, and you will do a lot of technical management and other things. So it's a little bit naturally then you turn into a manager, but it's not like me. I really want to manage us like in the companies our managers left, and upper manager think you are the fit, you want to try. So that's how I kind of stepped into it. But prior to that, actually early time, I tried a little bit of management. I didn't like it. I'm back to engineer. So because sometimes when you first step into a manager role, it is too tough. The time I was, because of the reorg and things, all of a sudden, I don't have the local team. I'm single people here, and a lot is remote. And for a junior manager, you just step in, it's too hard. You're just not able to handle it. Then I'm still very technical, so I started to find I better get back to the technical. But when really that actually gives you a lot of psychologically you prepared. When really the opportunity comes and when you naturally move on to that, the second time I tried, it's so natural. I just be a manager. So then I think that when you step into a manager in your current team, a role, it's relatively easy because you switch back and forth. You understand all this technical. You can still coding. You do everything. But the tough is you being dropped in a team is really totally new as a manager. Right? As I joined VMware as a manager, and I joined a really totally different team. And I joined EXSI, very low level kernel level of the technologies, which is really totally different than I was developing. So this is a challenge for you, really to focus what is your as a manager and what you need to do, how you need to enable the engineering team to do better job, and you do focus on the
And
core
Claire,
of
I'm
the
so
management.
sorry we're out of time, but
That's
I'm
okay.
sure your advice is going to be amazing. But I do want to thank everyone so much for joining. If you have the next hour free, we are doing, VMware is hosting a second panel, VMware Cloud Platform panel, and check out the chat and the link. Otherwise, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.